自然流といいますか、人間の手をあまり加えずに微生物の力によって酒を醸すという考え方。酒米の良さを引き出すという醸造方法ですので、全てが補助が分かって農家の方の顔が分かるということ、そこが連携してなければいけないと思っています。
主役は昆布です。ただ我々はお手伝い、温泉立てすれば済む。皆さんに飲んでもらえるものが何か、これは模索しながらほっとするようなものできればいいな。
Located in the southwest of Akita, Yurihonjo. Homes sprawl throughout the basin of the Koyoshi River across a waterway. To the north of the river, at the foot of Mount Shin, lies Ishiwaki. The area was once a bustling transport hub, back in the days when trade was still dominated by river boats. Situated in Ishiwaki's center is Saya Brewery, a sake brewery established in 1902. Reminiscent of the Meiji period, 11 of the buildings are nationally designed, tangible cultural properties, such as the storehouse and shop. Their sake, most well known for the Yuki no Bosha series, has won multiple gold prizes at the annual Japan Sake Awards. They brew their sake using water from a pure spring that has flowered from the brewery for generations.
水の種類というのは様々ありますけれども、若干固めの水になります。中硬水という部類に入るんですが、微生物の働きを良くする成分が比較的多いとお考えいただければいいですけれども、私どもは山灰仕込みという仕込み方を約4割しております。その山灰仕込みが安定してできるというのは、この水があるからとお考えいただいて結構です。蔵人の約半数が専業農家の方でして、それぞれお米を田んぼを持っております。で、夏の間は田んぼで酒米を栽培、そして冬の間は蔵に入って一緒に酒造りをしてもらうと、酒米の良さを引き出すという醸造方法ですので、全てが補助が分かって農家の方の顔が分かるということ、そこが連携してなければいけないと思っています。
Here at this brewery at the foot of the mountain, there is a 6-meter difference in elevation from front to back. It was built on this sloping plot in the Meiji period. The layout itself is steeped in wisdom for making good sake. At the top of the hill is the polishing area, where the rice is carried. Sake rice is polished according to the particular characteristics of each variety. The grains become significantly smaller than brown rice after polishing. Shaving off the exterior and only brewing with the center of the grain, packed with rice umami, produces the best sake. The sake rice leaves the polishing area and is carried to a storehouse further down. Using spring water flowing from within the storehouse, Sake is brewed here over roughly a month. Once ready, sake is pressed down from the fermentation room and carefully moved to the warehouse. Finally, at the lowest point, it's bottled and distributed nationwide. Rice carried to the top of the hill finds its way down the gentle slope. With a little help from the brewers along the way, the form of the rice slowly changes, finally leaving the brewery as sake. Taking advantage of a sloped site, the brewery is known as a climbing brewery, set to produce high-quality sake by adhering to gravity and natural processes. A team of almost 20 makes sake at Saya Brewery. Leading production is the brewmaster Toichi Takahashi. We have just started to soak the polished rice.
33% プラスマイナス0.2か3ぐらいの範囲で水を吸わそう。最初はね、米って心拍はあるんで多少白いんですが、全部白いわけじゃないんで、ほぼ透明なんですよ。それが水を吸うことによって白く濁っていくんですよ。特に山田にしくて線状心拍といって心拍がまっすぐに入っている。それがある時間水を吸えば貝みたいに二枚貝みたいにはっきり割れるんです。それを黙ってみてください。
The most critical component of the brewing process is microbes. Rice is mostly made up of starch. To make alcohol, sugar is also required in addition to starch. Rice can't produce alcohol on its own. Koji, a kind of microbe, needs to be added. Koji breaks down the starch in the rice, turning it into glucose. After the koji is added, the rice is carried to the koji room. Here, the brewmaster carefully observes the process as koji turns the rice starch into glucose. The material used on the walls and ceiling is Akita cedar. Thick 2-centimeter balls help stabilize the room humidity at around 30%.
湿度が高ければ麹が湿ったものが出る。そうするとお酒の味にものすごいハンディが出るんで、この杉の板って板の呼吸でできるんです。熱ければ熱いほど体積があるんで、吸う量もいっぱい吸いです。また吐き出す量もということで、7分板、板では一番熱い。これぐらいの厚さ。はい。
This fermentation method of coating rice in koji significantly impacts the flavor of the sake.
我々が実装とする蒸し米って握った時にくっつかないものだからよくこう押しても自然に
戻るんですね。
戻るんです。弾力のあるものじゃないとダメなんです。微妙なんですよ。はい。その理屈によって当然小作って微生物だから成長する過程でその水分が微妙に影響して内容成分違ったものができる。はい。
The rice spends 2 days in the koji room. Yeast is then added to the koji rice. The starch in the rice has been turned into glucose by the koji. To make sake, this glucose now needs to be turned into alcohol. Responsible for this process is yeast. Yeast is a powerful microbe that turns glucose into alcohol and carbon dioxide. The yeast has been waiting in a fridge at the back of the brewery.
はい、工房です。ここ0度にしてますので、ほぼ休眠状態。人間で言えば心臓部でしょうな。心臓でしょうな。当然お酒を作っているのは我々でなくて、この工房で。これが香りとか味とかというものを作ってくれる。
Currently, most sake breweries in Japan don't cultivate their yeast, favoring cultures produced by the Brewing Society of Japan. In contrast, Saya Brewery has made sake with wild yeast cultivated on-site for more than 30 years. Their constant pursuit of unique sake is a source of great pride.
日本酒がなぜここまで衰退したか、級別あって酵母買って米も同じもので日本中で同じ酒作る。そうすれば秋田の酒も灘伏見の酒同じですよ。作る人間が違うぐらいの話で。だからお客さんにこう選択の余地を狭めちゃう。だから一つのものを作ったってダメだ。そうすれば作る。今我々は工房だけでなくて作り方、従来の作り方とは全く別な作りをしている。そうしないと自分のボーチャって違った風味のものを出せない。
Sake here is brewed in innovative ways. One of these is how yeast starter is made. Yeast, water, and rice are fermented with koji to create the starter. Usually, synthetic lactic acid is added to the starter to reduce the cultivation of harmful bacteria. However, for certain batches of sake, the brewmaster waits for lactic acid bacteria that naturally occur in the air to cultivate in the tank instead of adding a synthetic substitute. Fermentation takes longer than the standard method, but produces a rich and more characteristic flavor. It takes full advantage of the microbe's potential. This requires the brewery to be very careful about cleaning. Many sake breweries use chemicals to clean their tools and work areas, but they are strictly prohibited here due to the risk that they will also kill necessary bacteria. Instead, an ideal fermentation environment is maintained by regularly wiping down surfaces and sweeping floors. Next is the most distinctive aspect of their process. The tanks are not stirred. Many breweries mix their sake to speed up fermentation. Will fermentation continue without mixing? This is a look inside the tank. One hour after water and koji were added to the yeast starter. Small bubbles have begun to rise to the surface. Another 2 hours. Sediment from the bottom of the tank begins to rise. Momentum increases as the fermentation continues without pause.
全部タンク、早い遅いは酵母の活性の状況で違うんですが、酵母が全く成立するっていうことはないんです。生きてる限り大量は起きてます。貝を入れるっていうのはその大流を止めることで先に対して最も悪い行為。せっかく起きている大流を止めていいことなんて何もない。だからいつも私車にブレーキとアクセルと一緒に踏んでて車前には進まねえよ。
Brewmaster Toichi Takahashi's sake takes full advantage of the power of natural fermentation. Saya distributes their sake straight after it's been pressed, a style known as genshu. Some breweries add water to their genshu to lower the alcohol content or filter it with charcoal to increase clarity. Saya prides itself on delivering freshly pressed flavor to customers by keeping the sake as pure as possible. Bottling is performed carefully to maintain quality. Genshu leaves the press at about 5 degrees in temperature. It arrives here cold and is pumped into bottles through a hose. Each bottle is checked by hand to ensure they have been filled to the correct level with no impurities. This undiluted sake is delivered cold to slow down yeast activity, while other sake are heated to completely stop the fermentation process, allowing them to be shipped at room temperature.
「三内仕込み」と言いますけれども、微生物を中心に置いて、そして、考えた仕込み方があります。自然流といいますか、人間の手をあまり加えずに微生物の力によって酒を醸すという考え方です。かなりオリジナルな考え方だと思いますし、そういう技法だと思っております。 ぜひその良さを味わっていただければと思っております。
Saya Brewery, crafting natural sake with wild yeast. Intricate flavor profiles crafted at this small Akita brewery have garnered high domestic and international praise, sharing the delight of sake with the world.